Hello everyone and welcome back to Las Vegas. We've swapped the Bellagio fountains for the Sphere. Whenever you go in Las Vegas you can always get a good backdrop. It's me, Mark Mann-Bryans, joined again by Ben Hunt. We've had practice 1 and practice 2 today, Ben.
Yep. Biggest
takeaway, I guess, is Mercedes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we spoke about it, didn't we, a little bit last night about, you know, who's going to be strong here. We initially thought that Red Bull were going to be quick, and we were a bit dismissive of perhaps some of the teams. But yeah, Mercedes have come out of the box quickest, looking strong. You know, and for once, you know, that they look like, you know, they're in an advantageous position from the off.
Yeah.
We've often seen with Mercedes that they've struggled to get to grips with things over the course of the weekend. There was that sweet spot, wasn't there, in late summer where they were winning races, and we saw a trend there where they were coming to circuits and stuff was working for them.
Yep.
Usually the lower temperature ones, such as Spa and Silverstone, it's cold here. Maybe
is it cold?
Maybe this is the factor, the common factor that's working for them. And yeah, it definitely bodes well for Mercedes this weekend.
It is absolutely freezing again, just to fill you in. Let's talk a little bit about Lewis. I made the point, a little bit offhand, but maybe there's something to it. Topping both sessions,
yeah.
He'll have had a smile inside his helmet, wouldn't he, tonight, after all the stuff with Toto and the comments about, you know, the performance stuff. Whether you take them with a pinch of salt or not, given what's been said, he'll be happy with that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Lewis is a complicated guy at times, and you know, I think that sometimes, you know, we forget how long he's actually been in this sport, and it must be difficult for him to be motivated and to keep finding new ways of getting that extra tenth each time. And one of the ways that he does use it is, you know, the sense that people are against him and he's got a point to prove. And I think that, you know, the moment that someone speaks out against him, he looks to go, right, I'm going to use that as my motivation, I'm going to prove a point. And that's probably exactly what he's done. You know, he heard those comments from Toto, you know, someone that he's worked with and very close to, and they must have jarred, you know, the comments that, you know, the shelf life and, you know, maybe he's not as quick as he was, and yeah, absolutely added motivation. And take that, Toto.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? It's worth saying, talking about motivation, we do still have a fight for a Drivers' Championship, regardless of, you know, what everyone thinks. And Lando Norris came here today, and he's put in quite a professional performance, you'd say, wouldn't he?
Yeah, again, another talking point coming in was all about how he was going to cope with the disappointment of seeing Max likely to be crowned champion here this weekend. Well, maybe not so after the performances today, which we'll come on to. But yeah, I mean, he seems to have, you know, got the right mindset, doing everything right, and yeah, he's looking strong. And it was interesting. We've got, you know, George, Lewis and Lando all up there, 3 British drivers in both sessions, so good for us Brits.
Yeah, good for how many Brits have come out here, especially with the weather, because it's very cold.
You do keep going on about this weather.
No, I didn't bring a jacket. Let's talk Max Verstappen.
Yes.
17th in that second session, but the caveat of he didn't get a run on the softs. He was out, and then the red flag came out for Alex Albon's Williams. Him and Perez, 17th and 19th on the medium. But it's not the start they would have wanted on a weekend where they're hoping to toast the Drivers' Championship.
No, and I think so. And you know, he was complaining with his steering wheel, wasn't he? You know, not comfortable, and that just unsettles the rhythm a little bit. And then you're playing catch up for the rest of the weekend. I think the Red Bull strength is that you know, they do a lot of work overnight, and then they can rectify the situation in time for tomorrow. Let's see. I think for me, yes, his position of, was it 17th at the end of FP2 was a surprise, of course. I think the biggest disappointment, however, was Perez lowly in both sessions. You know, and again, still so many question marks over his future. You know, he's running out of races to prove that he 100% deserves to be there next year.
Yeah, so with Max, he won't be overly worried going to bed tonight, will he? That he's 17th quickest. They'll, whatever niggle that is, you'd imagine they'll be a lot more competitive tomorrow.
You mentioned it, they're staying on the mediums rather than softs. Everyone else was on softs, so they obviously have some extra sets left. You know, that may be the strategy that they're playing.
We touched on the little red flag incident. Not a lot to it, just Albon pulling up the side of the road, seeming to have a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Worth saying though, the race director, first 2 sessions nice and easy, easing him into it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, 2 things. I mean, the first thing is that Williams have been very unlucky with accidents recently, and it's really tested you know, the crew at the race, but also the people back at the factory producing parts. And it's very hard to keep meeting these deadlines and bringing upgrades and bringing new parts when your drivers are smashing in mud.
Yeah,
and you know, it must be very demoralising at this stage of the season where everyone's sort of running on empty. You know, this is the start of another triple header, which goes from Vegas to Qatar, then on to Abu Dhabi. You know, it's a slog. You know, and it's going to be hard for those guys tonight working through the problem. You know, what is it here? It's, you know, close to 11 o'clock at night. You know, something like that. It's going to be tough for them. But the race director, yeah, it was a clean session. I think he's thankful for that. You know, there wasn't any controversy. He's now got 2 practice sessions under his belt, and yeah, they've passed our incident, so you know, he must be very thankful.
You had a little game of cards with Toto Wolff almost, didn't you, in the press conference? If we're talking about the race director, just tell us about that.
Strange, wasn't it? Like, Toto's reaction was interesting. He didn't really want to answer. I mean, the question was very direct. Is he satisfied with the FIA president and the way that he's running things at the moment? It comes in the wake of the GPDA being fairly unhappy, you know, and replacing the race director at very late notice with no explanation. So Toto was very cagey in his response. Initially he said, you know, can I play my joker and not answer?
You didn't. You wouldn't let him get away with that?
No, I don't think so. Can't let them get away with that. And he said no joker, and thankfully he answered, but it wasn't massively conclusive. I think that he is right in what he says, and that everyone has to pull together for the benefit of the sport. The other element is that he said that it's not to be done in the media, and that these discussions have to be happening in, you know, offices and closed doors, and, you know, very frank, open discussions, but away from us guys, which of course is a shame.
Yeah, for us especially. Yeah. Fred Vasseur was also in that press conference and answered the question as well, and he basically said no one can really work out why it happened now. No one will know why it happens now, but it gives a bit of a strange momentum, I think was the phrase he used, for the last 3 races. And it's true, isn't it? We touched on it last night, but it is worth touching on again. It's a weird one with 3 races to go and both titles still in the air, that we now have a new referee, if you like, isn't it?
Crunch stage of the season, you know, lots of money at stake, and you know, it's very important that decision making is accurate and consistent. We've definitely, or potentially, going to lose that consistency the moment that you take the guy away that's been making those decisions for the past almost 2 years. So it's a new guy, new fresh pair of eyes, and he's going to have his own opinions. So, you know, I just hope that it passes without incident, and we're not leaving here talking about a stewarding decision, which ultimately will shape the Drivers' Championship and can have massive ramifications on the team's, you know, Constructors' Championship as well. So
we're in the desert, Ben. It's night time. Night time's in the desert, always cold, but also in the desert, dust. Yeah. And that first session was crazy. Like, it was almost like you couldn't see the haze, almost a haze, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it is a street track. You know, the cars have been going over it all day. They close the track, what, 5 o'clock is in the afternoon, reopen it, and then when the F1 cars go round, they just throw up all the dust. I thought it was really quite interesting. They put the Ferrari Challenge on. So we do have a support series for the first time here in Vegas, which
well, it was definitely better noticeable in FP2 than it was. Better,
so yeah, the timing of them were, you know, they were after FP1. So you've got the F1 session, which would clear some of the dust, then the Ferrari session, which would do another job of cleaning up the track, and then of course you get to FP2, and yeah, even better still, and you know, the track should be scrubbing up quite nicely. But what's weird is you've got the cars back on it again tomorrow, so you know, it kind of evens it out, and we'll have to see how that changes things tomorrow. But
Toto wanted the dust to stay as well, didn't he? He made that point with the pace. Just finally, let's touch on what we expect for tomorrow. FP3, it's one of those sessions, isn't it? It's 6:30 again, so it's not representative of race start time, but then we head into qualifying. What do you think tomorrow? What's your prediction for that front of that grid? Front of the grid?
I think predictions are always difficult. It just depends on how much of a step Red Bull take in the right direction. I think if they're there and you know, and quick again, then we can obviously say, well, you know, Max is back, potentially Perez as well, and that has the potential to disrupt the order that we've seen in the first 2 sessions. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, whether they can get back. If they don't, then obviously it's all advantage and up to McLaren and Ferrari. We haven't spoken about Ferrari, but you know, they were 4 and 5, weren't they, in the FP2? So you know, again, looking strong as they have done for much of this year. Sort of been thereabouts, but slightly off the radar. You know, unrecognised, but definitely they're ready to pounce should there be an opportunity. Yeah,
it's not British bias to say. I think it would be really interesting if Lando was to put it 1 or 2 tomorrow and Max is further back.
Yeah.
Because it just gives us that little bit of the race then, where we're a bit like what we saw in Brazil, different conditions here, but it would be good to see, not, you know, a bit of a fight that might mean that even if the title's won here, it's won in a way that is entertaining and we can have the Bellagio fountains going off on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
But do join us again tomorrow after qualifying, where me and Ben will be discussing that, and I will be wearing a coat. So yeah, until then, stay safe everybody, and thank you.
Thanks.